Hey there, baby. Smoker's chugging. Today we're doing chicken. I never really did it before, and I mean I've done little bits here and there on and off, but I've never done a cook dedicated to chicken. So here's what I'm doing differently today. I got the Old Country Smokehouse all cleaned out this morning, and I wanted you to see the Lone Star grills. I don't know if you can catch that color right here. It's got a beautiful blue color to it. I had used it a couple of times, and today I took it out and cleaned it pretty thoroughly with a vacuum cleaner, shook off all the ash, and oiled it up and left it in the firebox all day in the heat. And that's what I came out to, is this beautiful blue shiny color. You can still see a little rust there, but I think we got that under control. And I sprayed all the rusty parts inside. I cleaned my grills off as best I could with a putty knife. And I got the inside of the cooker fairly clean. And I'm running it without water today. I've noticed in the past that I didn't have any difficulty getting the high temperatures when I ran it without water. And I'm doing that today because, from what I understand, for chicken, I've heard various different temperatures anywhere between 275 and 325 degrees to get a crisp skin. We're doing wings and we're doing legs with attached thighs. And I've got my new ThermoWorks here, and as you can see, the temperature, the cook chamber temperature, I just started the fire, so it's not very hot, but I got my alarm set for 335 on the top and 285 on the bottom. So if I can keep it in that range, I think I'll be okay. And I'm going to use the probe on the legs and thighs, so I have those set at 175 to 185. And the reason I'm doing that is I understand that for them to be thoroughly cooked, they need to be a little bit hotter. The wings, I'm just going to use the probe, the manual instant read, and we're going to see how that comes out. So I've never really gotten that into chicken. I just kind of thrown on it whatever I had. So here's what I did. I dried them all off. I salted them all. And on the two bone parts of the wings, I did two different things. One was lemon pepper and garlic powder, and the other was tahine and garlic powder, which is like a lime and pepper flavored seasoning that you find in the Hispanic section of the grocery store. And on the drumettes, I did my I got a bug flying in my eyeball. I did my regular all-purpose pork barbecue rub and salt, and on the leg and thigh section, salt, pepper, garlic. So I've got a variety of things. I'm not going to sauce any of them. I do have some sauces in the house in case people want to dip or whatever, but my intention right now is not to caramelize sauce onto the wing sections or any other part there. So we'll see if my opinion changes throughout the cook. For my fire, I just used my Lone Star Grills fire management basket, a little pile of my B&B lump hardwood coal, and a couple of maple splits, and I lit that with one of the Weber paraffin cubes. I kind of know that this is a little slower getting going the way I'm doing it now, especially since I didn't really heap up the charcoal over the paraffin. But I kind of figure it's less of a pain than dumping a thing of hot coals, and it's a lot less dangerous. So I'm thinking that this is going to be my new way of starting fires. I know that I would have waited 20 minutes for those coals to get ready, but once I did, I could have thrown some logs on there and boom, heated up the smoker, and yeah, I would have had a little less dirty smoke at the beginning, and yeah, it might have gone a little faster total, but I think that the speed I would have gained would have been negligible. What I decided to do was I took the alligator clip from the pit probe from my old thermometer. I had to spread it open a little bit. The little tube where the temperature probe goes in was actually a little too tight. This probe is larger in diameter. So what I did was I cleaned it up a little bit and spread that with a little piece of metal, and got it a little more open, and I put my current pit probe in. We'll see how this works. But as you know from my unboxing video, I had a little difficulty with the pit probe clip that came with it, as the diamond mesh, the expanded metal, um, actually pinched it too tight and didn't retain the probe at all. Here we are about 10 minutes in. The fire's going pretty good. I had to move some of the bigger coals from the back over the front where they were lit, get them heated up. And there must be some moisture in that charcoal. I've been keeping it inside a bag, inside a plastic garbage can with a lid, inside of one of these, this thing, whatever that is, Rubbermaid cubby. So I don't know if it's this humidity or if it's from the rains we've had or what, but that's the situation. So it seems like it's leveling out a little bit now, and I think it's lit enough that I can close the door, maybe throw another log on there, and just watch my temperatures rise. And right now we're up to 149.5 inside the smoke chamber. Keep it posted. Earlier today when I was cleaning the smoker, I sprayed down a lot of the internal components, the fire management basket, the baffle plate between the firebox and the smoke box, both top and bottom, the water pan, the bottom shelf where I have a diffuser, which used to be the firebox grate. And as you can see, I got some pretty horrible smoke coming out of there. But that is not from my fire. That's from that spray oil burning off. So I'm not putting food on there until that clears up. That's pretty bad. And also, I'm just barely at my temperatures here. As you can see, I'm 286. So I'm going to start ramping back the dampers and see if I can stabilize it somewhere a little over 300 degrees. Okay folks, so here's my current situation. We're at 369 degrees and climbing. And if you look down here, you might have seen this in previous cooks, but this little doojigger is a fan port for my barbecue guru that I had to drill into the side of my smoker. And up until the last cook that I did, I still had the silicone plug that went inside it to block it off and made it so that the only air I would get would be through these vents. You can see these vents are fully closed, and I put the only thing that I have, which is a steel cap for a bigger diameter pipe, over that to try to slow the air down going into it. So right now I'm just waiting for the fire to die a little bit. We're up to 370 degrees. My white smoke from the cleaning and lubing is still going. So I way overshot my temperatures. It's going to be a little while until I can make the fire smaller. And part of the difficulty that I'm having is trying to do this cook without water in the water pan, which is the one thing that really helps you regulate your temperatures in a Smokehouse smoker. So these things are really not made for chicken. And up until now I haven't really done any serious amounts of chicken. And the chicken that I have done, I've done with water in the pan and at temperatures that I would normally cook pork or beef. So I'm kind of struggling here a little bit. But hopefully we'll get the temperatures regulated once the fire shrinks a little bit. Hopefully it'll shrink in such a way that I'll still have enough coals to put a new log on and go with one log instead of three. Let's open up the firebox, see what we got going. So we still have a lot of coals, and we have the remains of 3 logs, and they're burning. Okay folks, so I'm inside getting a little breather from the heat out there. It is brutal today. It's in the 90s. Whew, hot. So anywho, here's where our situation is at. We're climbing back up. I had opened the door. My white smoke from all the spray oil that I had put inside on the shelves and the water pan and the buffer plate had kind of subsided a little bit. Well, a lot. It's still going, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. That's kind of what I expected. However, when I opened the door to look inside and see what was still smoking, the 2 main offenders were that the fire grate that I had put in place of the bottom shelf as a buffer, and the water pan, which is empty. And I had scraped it out pretty good. And after scraping it, sprayed it down really good, top and bottom, especially the bottom, which was pretty rusty from having all that heat hit it. And I had sprayed the plate that goes between the firebox and the smoke chamber. And that didn't seem like, I think that was probably the first thing that burnt off. However, there was like a raised black foam kind of along the seams where I hadn't cleaned it really well. And I think it's a mixture of the oil and the remaining crap that was in the water pan. So I scraped all that out really good with the palette knife and dumped it in my ash bucket, and I put that back in the firebox. And the time that I had the door open, the temperature went from about 380 degrees, 375 degrees down to 230 degrees, and we're now back up to 318. And we're sitting there climbing pretty slowly. And mind you, this is with the firebox damper all the way shut, the door closed and latched, and that little metal cap over the fan port to slow down the air coming in there. I think I need to let a little bit of the wood burn down and make a smaller fire, and then kind of manage that fire. This is a big experiment for me, so I'm monkeying around with it. I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm hoping that I can get it to level out. Once I level it out and I see that the majority of that smoke that is from the oil burning off has dissipated, then I'll start thinking about putting the chicken on, but not until then. Okay, my temperature stabilized around 335, and as you can see, my smoke is clear. And I'm going to have to manage a camera and cable, so bear with me here. I put my thighs and drumsticks in, and according to the ThermalWorks website, pardon the camera angle, you're not supposed to let the cables touch grates or they can melt and shorten their life. I am going to put probe ports in this, but I didn't have time to order them and get them here. They're going to go on this wall here, and probably one just above the middle cooking grate and one just above the top cooking grate, and that'll give me the elevation that I need to suspend these cables through the wall and above the cooking surface and still get them into the meat, so that I can get the maximum life out of them. Hoping that pinching them through the door throughout this cook today won't cost me 2 new probes, because they're like $18 a piece. So not excited about that. I threw a log on. It had a real good bed of coals, and I threw one log on it. As you can see, it's a smaller log. So I'm going to try to control this fire through size. Still have my vents closed. Still have the cap loosely placed over the fan port. And right now the temperatures seem to move a lot slower, which is good for me, but they did stabilize out right at about the top of the range that I had set, which was 285 to 335. Hey folks, you can see over my shoulder here that I am getting a little bit of smoke, but listen. That smoke is not dirty smoke. That smoke is from chicken fat hitting the shelves and the fire grate that I have below it. So that's some flavor right there. I'm not going to worry about that. And we're rolling up on 336 degrees internal to the smoke chamber, and about a little over 90 degrees for the chicken. It went on about, I want to say it was about 45 or 50 degrees when it went on. So pretty soon I'll be adding those wings, and I've been adding little sticks of wood to the fire. I did experiment with opening the front vent just a little bit. That didn't really work out in my favor, so I shut it all the way back down again. and I'm hovering right around the top of the range that I wanted to be in. I'm at 336 degrees. So that's where we're going to sit. I'm going to add small sticks. I've been adding little ones, little like this guy here, this size, not huge. Um, and they burn out pretty quick and add to the coal bed, and there's plenty of coals in there, so that's where the heat's coming from. I don't want to let the coal bed burn out entirely, but I don't want to go adding giant logs that are going to add a lot of energy to the fire. I got a really hot ambient temperature today. We're in the 90s and it's humid, so that has something to do with it as well. If I was doing this and it was 50 degrees out, I probably would have a little bit easier time managing it. And I am going to have to figure out a plug for that fan port so that I can use my real dampers to control my fire. As you can see, I've got nice clear smoke. I don't know if you'll be able to read this or not, but yeah, we're running about 297, 298. That meat temperature that you see is the probe I have in the chicken leg, and I just instant read a couple of the wings, and I found that, you know, they were probably pretty close to being done, but they didn't really have much color. Let's see if we can take a look inside, see what I'm talking about. So I guess they're getting a little bit of color, but they still look kind of light. The legs are looking a little better. They got about 10-20 degrees left to go. I swapped these pans out because I think the heat kind of goes up either side. So what I did was I pulled this one out and moved it to the left, and then I pulled the right one out and moved it to the left rather. And I don't know. I'm going to shut it up because I'm getting wacky temperatures on it. But I had been hovering around that 297, 298 mark. Now I'm down at 270 something. And that's with the vents closed. I found that it would raise the temperature pretty good if I opened the vents, but it kind of ran away with me. And I didn't like that. So I'm just leaving it closed, putting another log on when it needs it. The coal bed is burned down quite a bit though. So I got to really keep an eye on it so I don't completely lose it and can't light any more logs, which I'm going to do right now. I wish you could smell it here. My phone keeps shutting off because of the temperature, but it smells fantastic. The chicken may not be dark, but it's getting pretty near done. And once it's done, we're going to eat it however it is, whether it's dark and smoky looking or not. So here's how the two-bone wings came out. All these wings are in the 180 to 200 degree range, so very well cooked. You can see there's a few spots from the chicken above dripping on it, but we have tahini and salt and garlic powder, and these ones here, these lighter colored ones, are lemon pepper and garlic powder and salt. I'm going to go put these in the oven to warm or hold them in the kitchen. Actually, they're probably not going to cool off. It's like 90 something out here, so I'm going to leave them right here. The drummers are all in the barely 160, 165 range, so I'm going to let them go just a little bit longer. And we're rolling up on 172 for the probed thigh and leg. So I'm thinking that we're probably pretty close to pulling that off too. I know they say 175, 180 for those parts of the chicken. Gonna let it go a little further. All right, so here's how the leg and thigh sections came out. I'm a little concerned about this red here, but the temperature is all probed 175, 180, and that's supposed to be done. But these had no sauce, and they had no, just smoke. Salt, pepper, garlic, and smoke, and that's it. And they were really juicy. When I pulled the first leg off, like a lot of juice came out of the bottom of it. I pulled it off the griddle that I had inside, and they smell great. So I'm kind of optimistic about this. I'm hoping that if the kids want sauce, I can just sauce them and stick them in the oven to tack the sauce up a little bit. Otherwise, I'm not going to worry about it because they look delicious. Better than anything I made prior to this. Well, folks, I figured it out. Took a lot of mistake making. As you can see, my smoke is still clear. My internal temperature in the smoke chamber is 315 degrees, which is pretty much where I wanted it. It took me a little bit. I overstoked the fire to get it warm. I let it go too long before I choked it down. This smoker isn't a chicken cooker, and it's not really meant to be used without water. And I don't really know any other way to make the skin crispy other than high temperatures and no water. So I think I kind of figured it out, and I think that as I go, I'll have better luck with it. I did learn a few things. One is not to build the initial fire too big because you're impatient. Number two, I got to figure out a choke for that little this thing right here. Where is it? Right, this thing, the fan port, or I have to get rid of it entirely so that I can use my vents. As you can see, my vents are partly open right now, and that's because the fire has gotten really low. I don't have very much wood in there. The coal bed is fairly small now compared to what I started out with. So that's that. Um, I'm working it out. I'm figuring it out. The food looks nice. Okay, folks, this is what we ended up with the chicken drummers, like the drum portion of the wing, the one bone portion. Color is pretty good. Um, these had to go a little bit longer than the two bone sections. I'm thinking that they probably went about 10, maybe 15 minutes longer to get up to a decent temperature. And they look cooked but not overcooked. And they've got a little bit different color. As you remember, I put lemon pepper, garlic, and salt on some of the two bone wings, and tahine, garlic, and salt on the rest. This is my all-purpose pork barbecue rub. This is kind of like my go-to rub, and the color obviously is a little bit better because there's some paprika in here and so forth. So, but they look delicious, and I'm looking forward to trying them. And I'm definitely thinking that they're going to be crispy the way that the probe broke through the skin. So, yay! And they're moist because when you pull the probe out, you get a little squirt of juice, nice and clear. It looked nice, and when I took the chicken off, it was pretty juicy. So I've got it sitting in a 175-degree oven right now, waiting for the rest of dinner to be made. And I'm pretty optimistic that it's going to taste good. So I'll let you know. But that's what I got. So happy chicken days. You guys, really, seriously, stay safe, stay well, God bless, and smokers chugging, baby.